The emotional content seems to hide the patterns. So you think of something, you say, God, I got this figured out today. And you think you have it figured out, and you don't have it figured out at all, because the moment you figure it out, then it sets up a pattern that then captures you. Or you think that it's a solution, but every solution becomes the problem, it seems like. Simply stated, every solution becomes the problem. That is the nature of reality, that every solution becomes the problem because it sets up a pattern and you will have to play both sides of it, right? Right. I mean, I have to think a minute about playing both sides of it with my last problem. That, I mean, it always comes back to you, of course. It always, it's like a homing pigeon. It always comes back to you. Whatever you put out into the world will always come, whatever pattern you put into the world will always come back to you because a pattern has to find, it is balanced. The moment you put something into the world, the other side of it appears. Remember you talking about that. Um, Alan, you're talking about the karmic thing, but the minute you put something into the world, the minute you look to your right, you are inherently ignoring the left. The minute you look up, you are inherently ignoring down, but both have to exist in order for you to look up or to look right, is the way I see it. So you ignore the fact that there is a left, and that pattern has to be fulfilled. That might be the fundamental disturbance in my own energy. This is Thomas, because I just realized that I looked up and ignored down. And therefore, I wasn't down on the ground where you were, Stephanie. I was looking at it from a different point of view. So, from your point of view, everything you do is a trust on a capacity to experience reality as a hand in hand maturation of nature. In other words, there will always be up and down. But the moment you look up, your ability to comprehend down is impacted, right? Maybe. Let's take my example. So I had to really think about this pattern a lot, trying to find the pattern. So a long time ago, I'm 75 now. So a long time ago, actually before I got married the first time, and I got married the first time when I was 20, was that I was getting married, but I didn't know if it would last because I had no way of knowing. And although I loved my husband very much, I didn't have any way of knowing if it would last. And so I said, okay, I'll get married, but I don't know if it will last. But I was ready to get married, and we got married, and it didn't last. And I just felt trapped in the marriage in the end. I felt very, very trapped. And then I had other relationships and another marriage. And in the end, I came to see that the way that I figured it out. So I set a pattern. I figured out that I was not good at marriage. That when in both cases, it seemed like the husband was resistant to the divorce and emotionally distraught by it. And I didn't like having to go through I didn't like having to go through the breakup stuff. I didn't like to have to go through the divorce stuff. it was kind of in its own way agonizing because I felt so guilty, etc., about just wanting to go off on my own. And and so I just concluded that I wasn't a good fit for marriage. I was not a good fit for marriage, and I certainly didn't want to put somebody else through it because I would feel guilty when they were upset because we were splitting up. And I don't know if they really were upset. I can't put myself in their head, but that's the way they acted. They tried to hold on to the marriage until, you know, it became inevitable and I was clear of what I wanted to do. And in one case, there was a reversal, but I won't get into that. But anyway, my conclusion was that I was not fit for it. But I still, if you feel guilty about something or you feel you take on the burden of it, and I took on the burden of my first divorce, I was like, whatever happens, I'm responsible for it because I'm the one that's choosing. And so I did take responsibility for it. But you can't take guilt with it. If you take responsibility for something and you take guilt with it, I mean, this is what I'm saying today, and I'm just thinking this through. If you take guilt with it, then you don't let it go. It's still alive inside of you because it's part of that pattern that you have created. So the pattern I created was I'm not good at this, I'm not good at marriage, I don't want to go through this again after 2 times of being married. And, other relationships that didn't work out. Not very many, you know. I might have had brief encounters but with other men, but I didn't have long-term relationships other than one that I felt kind of trapped in from the beginning. But anyway, that is the conclusion I came to. But the conclusion I came to required that in my that pattern was established for me. Therefore, in my thought system, I was still captured in the marriage because although I was no longer married, I still had that thought pattern. And so I hadn't totally left the marriage because it was still in my mind that I was not good at it. And I was happy. I would say I was happier not married and not having to deal with all the problems of having a man in your life. It just was easier for me. And I'm very capable, so I could do very different things. Um, and so it's only recently, due to connections, mostly with you guys have inside, somebody in particular, that I came to see that I was very frustrated that this person would not seem to leave me alone. And there was all this talk about marriage from the very beginning, the twin souls, the marriage. And so I came to see finally, I was frustrated that this person would not leave me alone. I mean, it was fun at first, but then it got kind of dark. And I was like, this is too dark for me. I don't like it. And I could not get free from it because he would just keep hounding me, more or less. And I had to come to see that I had to set myself free. He would never set me free. I had to set myself free. This goes back through many lifetimes. I had to set myself free. So the patterns were established in other lifetimes too, and they continue into this lifetime, even though you are not thinking about them. So this is very confusing to me, other than that there are patterns. And so when you're emotional about something and you say, well, that person is hounding me, and even when you get to the point where you say, I have to set myself free, I can't expect them to set me free, you still have to find the way to set yourself free and what you're setting yourself free from. And what you're setting yourself free from is the pattern that you have yourself established. That it's still present in your energy, you might say. So you still have a belief about it. And that belief is still tied to the fact that you don't do good at it. And so it keeps coming back to you like a bad penny, where although in my life I was no longer interested in marriage, and I lived 35, I've gone 35 years without being married or having any serious relationships. Um, I ended up with this person, heaven side, who was trusting on marriage somehow, that at some soul level you're married, I guess. And I just couldn't quite figure it out. And so what I figured out is it's just not true. It's just not true. So the solution that I found to my problems with marriage, which is that I wouldn't get married again, I would just leave it alone, established a pattern where I had to realize that the solution had become the problem, because I'd have to keep going through it again until I figured it out, that the solution had become the problem. Because probably, you know, whether I wanted to be the one that was married or not, it would chase me down, so to speak. Does this make sense to you? I know I'm kind of rambling, but I'm trying to put this into words. Perfectly sound to me, because the sound of your voice tells me that there is a pattern for me as well. So this is the one that has been hounding you. And I realize that the pattern for me was that I thought I had to be the one that would help you to realize that we belong together, and you don't really give a shit whether we belong together or not, because you just want to know how to be free of the solution, you see, because the solution had become the problem. And my solution was that I would help you see that marriage can be the answer to your prayers. And so I guess it was in a way, because it helped you to see that you didn't want to be with me and you prefer to be free to translate your energy into a trust on marriage when it's right for you and not when it's wrong for you. And so you came to see that marriage was a possibility for you, but only with the right person, you see, in the right time, in the right way. And that you're not going to be coerced into it. You're not going to step into it and find that it will harm you. Well, I don't know if I'm ever going to step into marriage, um, at least in the human way, where you get the contract and everything, and you got to do what the other person does say, and you got to do this and you got to do that. And I don't know that I ever want to step into that. But anyway, what was your solution that became your problem? My solution was that I would be the one who could cause others to see that they needed me, and they needed me to need them so that I could be safe in their arms, you see. And so I had to keep my energy divided, you see, in order to stay true to my solution, which was that I needed them to need me enough to refuse to be free of me. And so the answer to my prayers was that someone got free of me. You see, I wanted to be the one who could be free, and they'd have to be my slave, you see, do what I told them to in order for me to feel safe, that I would not be alone because I didn't want to be alone, because I'd been alone for so long, you see, that I was tired of being alone. And the only way I could figure out to be not alone was to be the one who could make sure that they needed me more than I needed them, you see. And so I kept trying to get you to see that you needed me more than I needed you. But you didn't play that way. No matter what I could do, you wouldn't play that way because you just say, go away and leave me alone. I've had fun with you, but now it's over, you see. I got other things to do. The game is over. The game is up. But the game was not up for me. And so I had to see that I'm not alone, you see. I'm never alone when I'm with me. I'm never alone when I'm with me. So that's my solution today, that I'm never alone when I'm with me. And so I'll have to see if that pattern holds true for the interim or if it will become the problem, you see. So what's your solution that might become the problem or it might not? Well, my solution is that the solution becomes the problem. So if you're looking up because you see a solution up there, then you have a tendency to ignore down, and down will hound you until you turn around and look it in the face and say, okay, I guess I was ignoring you, so now I need to accept the fact that that uh, up is not the solution. I'm not guilty for whatever happens to other people. It's not my responsibility. I don't know if that's a solution that's going to become a problem or what. So, how would you deal with this issue if it comes up for you again? Which issue? How would you deal with the issue of someone who comes to you and says, well, I need you to be my wife, so if you're not going to do that, then I'll have to keep hounding you till you agree to do it, you see? What would you do? I think I would just see it as words, meaningless words. Yes, that makes sense to me. This is the bias. Meaningless words. It makes sense to me too. This is Alan. That it's just a bunch of noise and it has nothing to do with your poise in life. That you can still be poised in your own reality, whatever other people may say to you. And even if people try to tell you and flatter you and tell you that you need to be their wife or you need to do this and because they love you and they need you to love them too, you can say, it's just so much noise today and I'm going to play in my own way. Okay, so is that a solution that would become a problem, guys? Can you imagine how saying that would become a problem? I need to play in my own way. No, I'm not seeing it. This is Thomas. I'm not seeing it, Stephanie. Well, this is the bias. I'm not seeing it right now either, but I'm keeping my options open here to see if I might be the one that figures out that I am the problem because I think I'm the solution to my own misery. So maybe I'm the problem, you see, if I get miserable. Maybe I'll have to take a good look at it and say, are you the solution or the problem? And if I'm the problem, then I'll have to let go of the idea that I'm the solution to my own problems because I might be the problem for my own solutions. Tobias, you're making me laugh, Stephanie here. I know, I'm trying to make you laugh. Okay, so this is kind of daft, but this is the way we play around here, I guess. This is Alan, and I enjoy a little laughter myself, but I can't be here in the hereafter if I'm here in the present, because I think we have a present for you, Stephanie, because this is the way we play around here. And I like it very much, actually, because I always thought that there should be more laughter in our seriousness, you see, because then we would balance it all out in a way that would say, God, it's fun today. God, it's fun today to be so serious that you come to see that laughter is the only remedy. And then when you laugh, you get it all out, and then you start being serious again, and then you laugh again. You laugh at yourself because you're so serious, and then you're so serious because laughter is such a serious way to get free of being serious, and then you do it all over again. Yeah, I guess so. But it sure seems, when you're in the midst of it, it seems so serious. And you have to really pull back and try and see the pattern. You have to get very objective, sort of. Yes, but then you get objective, and then, of course, it gets subjective because then you're in the pattern, and the pattern carries you into a new point of view, right? So that you can be objective again. Right. I had that pattern, and I would have just continued to have that pattern if I didn't get to the point where it got so dark. I was like, oh my God, here we go again. Here we go again. What is the pattern here that's keeping me locked into this strange relationship that just feels so dark? It was fun at first and it was kind of exciting. It was very, very challenging. But, it's fun to have challenges. But then after a while, you're like, well, I'm tired of being on this roller coaster. Can I get off it, please? And then, it's fun at first to have all those ups and downs and swoops and swerves. I think in one of the lectures I was listening to by you, Alan, you were mentioning that about passion, at fun. At first, when you fall in love, it's all that stuff where are they going to call? Are they going to call? And then they call and you get all excited, or you meet and you look into each other's eyes and, you realize this is the one for you. And then after a few years of that, you're worn out and you say, go away, or maybe even a few months, I don't know, or a few days, whatever it takes. And then you say, go away, I'm done with this. And then they get mad at you. And if you married them, they hit you up for all the dough. They laugh, Stephanie, because I'm so serious about the fact that I want to be free of all that anxiety about having to shell out the dough when I know that I'll never have to do that again because I'm not going to go into such a serious relationship again. I'm just going to let it be fun. And then when the fun is done, I'm just going to say, well, that was fun today. And now let's play a different way. And they'll say, okay, let's play a different way. And then we might actually stay together because we'll be more flexible, you see. So we can laugh when we're too serious and get serious when we're done laughing. And that might actually be the perfect relationship for me. Right, Alan. I think that might be the perfect relationship for you. Well, for me too. This is Steve. I think that might be the perfect relationship for me because I'm tired of being so serious, you see, and I want to be less serious. So I need a good laugh. So anybody got a good joke to tell me? Tobias always has a good joke. Here I am to give you a laugh. If you had a calf and the calf said to you, I don't want to grow up and be a cow because then I'll have to give you all my milk, you see. And you said, okay, then why don't you grow up to be a bull? And then you can be full of milk because you got fed when you were a calf, you see. And when you're a bull, you can just be full of bullshit, which is the way you play when you don't want to face reality. That's funny to me, Tobias. Well, it's funny to me too, Steve says. But I don't want to be full of bullshit, Tobias, so I guess I'll have to face reality. And reality is that I might be the one who trusted on something that was too serious for me because I like being free and not having to have someone need me all the time because I would think they are needy and then I'd throw them to the curb and then I'd look for somebody else who was so needy they needed me and then I'd think they were needy. So it seems to be a pattern, doesn't it? I think it does, Steve. I think it does. Bullshit today. So thanks for the laughter, guys. And Steph, if you close your eyes, you better be careful because you might realize that the problems and the solutions have to go together, you see, in order to maintain your balance on that planet you call Earth, where you will unearth so much energy that you're gonna have to keep it in check because otherwise we might have to find out how to get you some more dough so you can grow into your identity as the one who helps humanity. Right, Steve, right. We'll have to figure out that solution and that pattern and that what's going on there. Well, we'll keep working on it. This is Tobias and glad to have everybody together today in a serious, funny way. So talk to y'all later. Bye.